Thanks for joining In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, and hope you thoroughly enjoyed part one of Ted Karras. Tell you what, big addition. This is a veteran center that knows what it's supposed to look like. He's going to be a big factor in the offensive line room, meeting room, as well as overall to the team. The trickle down, the trickle up effect is going to be massive. In part two, we're going to talk to him about that very thing. Is one of the things that we cover with Ted Karras. Being a leader. And, you know, it's not something that's forced. It's something that is organic. And he's a big part of that process, not only with his other four members of the offensive line, but the entire football team at every level. Our 1 million YouTube view giveaways contest, courtesy First Star Logistics, continues with a special contest that runs until August 7th, 9 o'clock. So you have plenty of time, but don't procrastinate. Don't wait, because prizes include 2 tickets to a Cincinnati Reds game in the Boone County Bourbon Room with Dave Lapham. That would be me. 2 tickets to Cincinnati Reds game in the Boone County Bourbon Club with a celebrity to be determined later. And I know you're going to like that. It's big time. A signed Dave Lapham jersey, First Star Logistics custom backpack filled with apparel and gear, a $300 value, very nice prize, 2 $50 gas cards. Want the price of gas today? Nice. To enter, just go to the link and description below or scan the QR code. And you know, it seems to me, and I know you've been around Joe Burrow some, but to me, watching this kid operate, you know, a couple of years now, that is his big strength in my estimation. He's got the answers to the test quickly and correctly, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like the kid in class that got the test done and turned it in a half an hour before everybody else and got 100, you know. I mean, Joe, he just sees it and has the answers to the test, you know, and the diagnosis, like you talk about, is so rapid, you know, and I think that is invaluable, isn't it? I mean, that's something that is a rare thing to have.
It is, and it's, you know, it comes down to preparation too, a lot of prep to do that, and just the urgency that, you know, these great players have. You know, I think that, you know, obviously Joe has a great sense of urgency. Tom was always a very urgent man, and you know, that's kind of one of the, you know, the top traits of being good in this league, I think.
Yeah, there's no question. Do you see more similarities than differences between Brady and Burrow?
You know, I think football wise, there's going to be, it's, you know, obviously he's going to be with that comparison for a while, and, you know, hopefully keeps adding to the fuel. I hope Joe does. But obviously there's a 20-year gap,
right,
generationally, of who these guys are, who these men are. So there's some differences, and obviously, you know, I'm a little older now, where I was looking at Tom, I was the young guy. Well, I'm still the young guy compared to Tom, but
everybody is.
Yeah. But no, I think that, you know, Joe's done a great job. He's such a great leader. It was a great spring. These 8 weeks were so invaluable to us. I'm so glad we got to go in and meet all the guys and just kind of just lay a foundation for what is going to be, you know, extreme competition here and performance for, you know, hopefully, you know, as long as we can go. So I think Joe's an exceptional leader. He's been a great friend so far, and it's been a lot of fun to work with him. And I'm excited to, you know, continue to earn his trust and build our trust in each other, and thus, you know, build the trust of the O-line, the whole unit. And hopefully we're rare in week 1 here as a well-oiled machine.
As we know, Ted, I mean, there are going to be times during the season in specific games and many games where you're going to have to run the football well. You know, sometimes you just have to run it. You know, defenses are on their game and they're taking certain things away and giving things opportunities, and sometimes it's in the running game. And that's, in my mind, that's one underrated, underappreciated thing about the Patriots, you know, with Tom Brady is, guys, the Patriots have always had a sound running game and good backs. What do you think of the Bengals schematic in terms of the run game and Joe Mixon and company carrying the pigskin for you?
Well, I'm really excited to block for Joe. When I, first met him, I'd had a lot of admiration for Joe Mixon throughout, my career. And we'd played Cincinnati a few times. But I love the scheme, loved what we put in and how we worked it this spring. I think a lot of guys have a lot of confidence in it, and I think that again, is another guy that if O-line, if we can just when we just do our part, which is really just block your guy. If you really want to break it down, as simple as it goes, get on your guy and stay on him. We're going to have success in the running and the passing game. So there's a lot of onus on us to perform, which is how you want it and which this whole league is based on. But it's a good feeling in the back of your mind as no lineman is if I win my job here, we're gonna have a lot of success, whether we want to throw it or pass it. So we have a lot of guys around us, and we're we're gonna do our part and have some success.
As a group, as an offense, and as an offensive line in New England, did you go into games thinking, we can run the ball on anybody?
Absolutely, and then running game is a big part of any game plan strategy balance. As an attack, you want a balanced attack. But yeah, I mean, but sometimes you can be checkmated out of running the ball, and that's when you gotta win a one-on-one pass block. It's such a interesting game with a lot of nuances and a sport there's a lot of great minds in it and great players, and it's going to be whatever we need to do to win. So we'll go in thinking we're running, but we'll be able to adapt to anything, and I think that's the strength of this staff and the personnel we have on this team.
When the schedule came out, Teddy, you're a guy that likes to, take a look at when you play team. I mean, you knew who you're going to play for a while, but now you know who and when. Are
Mhm.
you a guy that likes to look at that, or is it just like, you know what, I have no control over that. I'm just going to get ready for, whatever game's next. And my focus and right now is we open with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's all Pittsburgh all the time. What's your thought process on all that?
I think Pittsburgh gets a priority
Yep.
because they're week one, obviously. But there's some landmark games in there. We got going to Gillette Christmas Eve. How can you
Yeah,
beat
that's
that?
big.
I mean,
That's big.
that's pretty cool. That's gonna be rocking and a fun game. It's gonna be two good teams. And then week four Miami. I think that's Thursday night football.
Right.
Yeah, so you put on obviously the landmark games for me would be my former teams, and
Yep.
then other than that, no, not really too much control, but you're kind of get a feel for what it is. See if any two division teams are kind of close because that's always a unique. I don't think we have any too close games, but when you play a team like twice in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
I've done that a few times in my career, but just looking out for stuff like that. But no, Pittsburgh gets priority. Yeah, obviously it's cool to think about you know, Gillette on Christmas Eve, but that's so far away that's in the drawer as soon as camp starts. We're not thinking about them until what is that, week 15?
Right.
So yeah.
So are you prepared? Obviously, you're an intelligent guy, an intelligent football player. Are you prepared for your teammates and coaches to say, all right, Ted, get up and tell us everything you know about the Dolphins and the Patriots when you guys are preparing to play those opponents?
Well, I mean, there's different staffs.
Yeah,
I think
true.
Miami has the same defensive staff actually. So that'll be, yeah, absolutely. I'll be prepared. I have notes and files. I've actually kept everything that's been distributed to me in my 7-year career so far.
Really?
So I got it all organized by season. So if you want, yeah, if you want to check out the 2017 Patriots offense, I have a stack of files for you. But yeah, so I'm ready to do that. Obviously, there's going to be things that you just watch the film too, and you can get kind of the same answers. But there's some different interesting nuances just from playing against maybe Miami's D or Patriots D that will help us. I don't think I can help much with the Patriots though. I heard it's changing. Obviously, McDaniels went to Vegas, so.
Right, right. That sounds like a coach. I mean, you haven't everything that you've ever been that's ever been distributed to, and you have it put away by year in files. I mean, that sounds like a coach to me, my
The
man.
information is power in this league, though.
No,
Too.
no question.
Yeah.
No question about that. Uh, is there a coach um, before your professional career that you point to and say, The reason I'm in the National Football League is this gentleman. With your coaching desires, obviously you were impacted by many coaches during the development years of you as a young man as well as a young football player. Is there a guy or two you point to and say, this guy is a big reason I am where I am today?
I think my high school O-line coach, Mick Ressler, was a great coach for me. Really, obviously the formative years of growing up. Not only as grow up kind of from a boy to a man or a pre-man. I'm coming out of high school, but great mentor, great football mind. He played O-line. He was our OC and our O-line coach. We won a couple of championships, and he's had a good coaching career in Indiana high school football. And I very much look up to him. Still comes to games and still comes around. And I have to give a lot of credit to him for my high school development. In college, interesting. I had a lot of coaches. I had 5 head coaches or 4 head coaches, 5 O-line coaches, 5 OCs. So if I had to single one of those guys out, it'd be AJ Ricker. He's the O-line coach now at TCU. I thought I had a new O-line coach every year of my college career, but I would say the biggest jump I took as a player was under AJ Ricker. So I give him a lot of credit, and don't want him to not feel that.
Do you think a big reason for your successful professional career is your football mind, your football IQ? As well as you have to be able to play physically. There's no two ways about that. I mean, if you can't handle the rigors of it physically, you're not going to play long in the National Football League. But the fact that you have such a beautiful football mind as such, do you think that's really helped you with your career?
I think it definitely helps. But there's also things, I think the more thing in my mind that's helped me more is I just wanted it more than guys that, obviously were ranked higher than me, and my actions have, portrayed wanting to have this job more than you or more than whoever.
Yep.
And then obviously a football, just knowing concepts and being able to translate quickly between offenses, because it's all generally the same stuff. Is broad strokes wise, if you know football concepts, you can adapt to any offense. But yeah, just wanting it more and working towards it. I mean, wanting it is just not enough. You have to prove that you want it too. So I think it's been a combination of all that.
It's interesting, Zach, when he talked about building the culture in Cincinnati, he said, one of the big primary things in terms of, in my mind, building a culture is to have players that the game is so important to them. I mean, it's the thing. And I'm sure that's the culture that you experienced in New England. I mean, isn't that a must?
It definitely is a must. I mean, and one of my favorite parts about a football season is that you can be obsessive about it. You can obsess over something and totally give your entire self to a goal, which is winning on Sundays. And then and then that's why it's so important to celebrate too with your team and just enjoy your 10 hours of success, because you got about 10 to 12 hours until we got to start worrying about the next one. And then it's just refilling the tank, and you get into a routine of preparation and then performance, and you're kind of all of a sudden you blink and it's week 14, and now we're saying where are we positioning ourselves and taking care of our bodies. And that's the fun part about football to me is, I mean, we only get judged on 17 days of the year, so that makes me pretty obsessive.
It's interesting. You talk about your routine that you've evolved to with respect to the off season, and particularly 3 or 4 weeks. Mini camp ends, and then you're on your own as such, getting ready for the start of training camp. Back in the day, I mean, we had one mini camp the entire off season, and we had 6 preseason games, and we had 7 one year. We're playing the Hall of Fame game. Guys would literally play themselves into shape. Well, the National Football League has evolved, and this period right here, the 3 weeks that we're talking about, you say, okay, in July 5th, it's go time. I'm all in. It's go time. How critical is it for guys to do everything they possibly can to hit the ground running when they come to Cincinnati?
Oh, I mean, it's vitally critical to the success of our team. We don't want to. Obviously, there's some ramp up periods now and different stuff, but I mean, we don't want to slow down. We had a great momentum coming off of spring. Offense is feeling good. Obviously there's a lot of communication going on, and now we're going to add the ultimate element, which is true competition with the defense lined up across from you. So, there's no time to stop. There's no time to wait and bring guys along. It's going to be full steam running, and these 3 weeks are important, and however you need to get yourself ready, you start having that, the little fire of anger and hatred for an opponent. You don't ever let it take the wheel, but you can let it press the gas a little bit here in these 3 weeks, and just kind of feel whatever you need to feel to be ready to come up and beat someone.
Like you mentioned, the offensive line. This group has always got 5 guys on the football field. You may have 5 receivers, depending on formation.
Yeah,
very rarely. Maybe you might, but there's always 5 offensive line. Sometimes there's 6 when you go big with a tight end, the extra tight ends, another offensive line. It's critical that these 5 components play as one. I always talk about it in my mind. The analogy is the fist. Make a good fist, a strong fist. All 5 components have to be operating at a high level together. And if one isn't, you're not making that strong fist anymore. How do you, in your mind, is it organic? Is it a natural evolution for an offensive line to just grow together? Or are there things that you feel like this has to be a point of emphasis, that has to be a point of emphasis? How do you, as a leader of that room, how does that come about? How do you get guys to bond like that?
Well, I think there's definitely a certain element of the organic growth, like you said. I mean, I think for it to be genuine and true and ready, the organic growth of just guys working together, liking each other, liking working together, and then feeling improvement together will help bond. But no, there's definitely points of emphasis. Jonah Williams did a great job this spring organizing O-line dinners. We're getting together. You have to get around and know each other, because we're going up against really good players, and I'm going to need your help. You're going to need my help at times. We're working together, and we're all connected. So getting around each other, and then football wise, points of emphasis, obviously, that's Frank's job, and he did a great job, getting us ready to go with not only just installing a whole offense to a bunch of guys who didn't know it, and then kind of our culture, the way we practice, and then, what we're going to get from our defense too. So there's a lot of different things, but I think that these 8 weeks, we definitely grew exponentially as a unit, and we got to hit the ground running here in 3 weeks, because a lot of people are going to be counting on us.
I know part of my job is to really study the schedule as such, and man, down the stretch, the final 8 games of the season, there's a lot of challenges in that 2-month stretch right there, those 8 or 9 games. But that's the National Football League. And honestly, every successful season you've had, the variable you can't control, the dreaded injury, factor. You never want to lose a key guy for a long period of time. That's common sense. That's, that's the nature of the beast. Have you been part of a team that was basically railroaded by injury to a critical component? I know when you were at the Patriots, you guys probably stayed pretty healthy and had success as a result. Was there a time where you lost somebody? It's like, oh man, we can't afford to lose this dude.
Well, I was actually, interestingly, I was a Deflategate compensatory pick. So when they took away the Patriots' first round pick for Deflategate, they gave him 3 6-round picks, the last of which I was the selection.
Huh.
So the first 4 games of that season, we didn't have Tom Brady. He was suspended for 4 games. So yeah, we went 3-1. So, there's, you can find a way to win here. And, I think, obviously, knock on wood, we're not thinking about injuries now, but, obviously there's certain things you can do in these 3 weeks that can prevent you from some type of soft tissue injury early in camp, which would be a setback. But once you get into the heat of battle, there's some randomness to it. And, it's a very violent sport, but, that's why we have, everyone on the team's working, because you never know it's going to be your time. I've made a whole career on taking advantage of opportunities when other guys couldn't play. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you make a great point, about somebody stepping up. in the example with Tom Brady and Deflategate, and that is life in the National Football League. When you look at the overall roster depth of the Bengals, and that's a key component, because there are going to be injuries, hopefully none dramatic and all that we talked about, avoiding all that. But there's a lot of guys in this roster that belong, aren't there? There are a lot of guys that, hey, we not only have 22 guys, we have 44 guys, we have 50 guys. I mean, the back end of our roster has got depth to it as well. Do you feel like this roster is put together pretty well?
I do, and I think we have a lot of guys that not only looked the part but have performed really well in spring. And guys are working hard. We had great attendance, and guys want to be a part of this team, and it's going to be a very competitive August, because there's only going to be 53 spots. And right now we're sitting at 90 guys, and that's a lot of guys, a lot of good players, and there's going to be, obviously it's going to come to coaching decisions and based on performance here and in August and early September. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting camp. I can't wait to see what training camp is like here in Cincinnati.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.